All right. Well, it is. I know it's all different times where you all are calling in from. It's 8 o'clock here in San Francisco, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. We are here to talk about demystifying AI in the classroom with code.org and Padlet. We're really excited to have a special guest, Pat Yongpradit, here with us. Before we get started, I just wanted to call out that you can turn on captions. I know people speak all different languages. We have a very international audience, so if you click in your Zoom settings, you can click to turn on captions if you want to do that. All right, well, today's agenda, we're going to first have Pat is going to tell us all sorts of great things about AI guidance for schools. They have some really excellent resources on Teach AI that he's going to share with us. He's also going to share a little bit about code.org and their AI lessons. Then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of Padlet's AI features, and then we'll do kind of our normal closing. We'll also have questions. Feel free to ask questions at any point. There's a Q&A turned on, and also the chat is turned on. So feel free to turn that up to ask your questions there at any point for Pat or myself, and we'll share some resources as well. Just as we get started here, I'll just introduce myself first, and then I'll hand it over to Pat. So my name is Zareen Levien. I'm a professional learning specialist here at Padlet. My background, I taught here in San Francisco and in Oakland for many years, high school and then elementary. And then I was a digital learning and project-based learning coach here. And that's actually when I came across code.org. We used the resources quite a lot with students, and it was just an amazing resource. If you haven't seen it already, code.org has really great resources for computer science and for making it really accessible for everyone and really engaging for everyone. And I know Pat's going to share some of those great resources. Most recently, I was the director of digital learning here in San Francisco Unified. And a couple months ago, I joined Padlet. So I'm excited to share more with you today. And I'll let Pat introduce himself. Thanks so much for joining us, Pat.
Thanks, Zareen. So hi, everyone. I'm Pat Yongpradit. I'm calling in from the Washington, D.C. area on the East Coast of the U.S. I do have a slide to introduce myself, Zareen. So do you want me to switch over and start sharing my slides now? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll share this. Voila. Yeah, so I guess we'll just launch right into it with my introduction and my slides. So I taught for 13 years, special education, science, and computer science, middle school and high school. And this is a picture of me with my Women in Technology Club. Well, actually just some members of the Women in Technology Club. And this was the last year I taught in 2013 at Springbrook High School in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I share this because most everything I do is informed by my experience as a teacher, and primarily trying to translate policy, principles, thought leadership, and good ideas into actual practice in the classroom in a very digestible way, in a very relevant way for instructors. So for all you out there who are currently teachers, I know it's not the easiest job. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for sticking through it. If you did stick through it through the pandemic, thank you for doing that. And thank you for continuing to just do your best. And obviously you're at this webinar because you want to learn about AI, you want to learn about other things, and I'm here to help you. So please just put questions in the Q&A or in the chat and we'll get to them. So I've been with code.org for 10.5 years now, actually. And in the last year, we kicked off an initiative called Teach AI with a bunch of other organizations. So there are actually 5 organizations that lead this initiative called Teach AI. It's code.org, ETS, ISTE, Khan Academy, and the World Economic Forum. It is a global initiative, and it's all about educating and guiding education leaders and policymakers in how to transform and rethink education in this age of AI. But we focus on the teaching with AI side as well as the teaching about AI side. The teaching with AI side being, the use of AI across any subject area. The teaching about AI side, which is the how it works side of things. And I'll talk a little bit about that later as to why that's important to cover both sides. And I wanted to start off with just an acknowledgement that, the world is changing fast. Those of you who are interested in AI, there's always some kind of new AI news every single week. It's a very exciting time to be an educator and really just to be interested in technology. And I know that there are different feelings about AI. It's not like everyone is just, super happy, excited about it. And even the people who are happy and excited about it aren't happy and excited about it all the time, including me. So, the concerns that you have about AI are valid. We're going to talk a little bit about them today. But as an educator, some of you are teachers, some of you work with students outside of school, some of you lead schools or even lead systems. People are looking to you for guidance. And I'll be talking about what guidance we should be giving people at this moment in time. And so let's figure out how to make the most of this opportunity. For a lot of us, we have all really great ideas in education. I want you to know that AI can help make those ideas become reality. Well, most of those ideas. So let's start off by talking about what is artificial intelligence. Now, I'd like to do this just for a couple minutes because you'll be surprised how we read about AI, but we don't really learn what it actually is and how it works. And I'm not going to get into the deep details, but I'm going to go over the basics. And if you already know what AI is, maybe you can just learn from how I talk about AI so that that will inform how you talk about AI with other people. Unfortunately, my animations didn't work very well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to hop out of this, watch what I do. And I'm going to delete some stuff. And then I'm going to come back in. All right, here we go. Presenter view. And share screen. And everything is fine again. Okay. So unfortunately, you're going to miss out on some really cool graphics that I have, but it's okay. Artificial intelligence. So I always start off by saying it's a field of study, and it's all about the idea of enabling machines and programs to simulate tasks that typically require human intelligence. That's a very broad definition. And I tell people that, and then I say there are broad applications because of this broad definition. And then I say, because of the broad definition and broad applications of AI, and the fact that it's right now very fast moving, it's actually very hard to figure out how to develop guidance, policy, and regulations around it. And so let's break it down a little bit more to kind of understand what it is. So beyond the definition, let's talk about two different aspects of AI. And I want to talk about approaches, like the actual technical approaches in AI, and then some key applications. And so on the left side of this slide deck, you see that there is this one approach called classical AI approaches. And these are techniques based on human program rules to perform specific tasks. And this is very important. I'm going to show you a program. This is a very typical program. And this is an example of what you might use and build upon to create a classical AI application. And so in this program, and maybe you've never seen a program before, but this is still pretty easy to understand, the computer will print out what are your symptoms, and then there'll be an answer, and then we take that answer, and if it's cough, then the computer will ask, is it dry or wet? And then based off, if it's wet, then they'll ask, the program will ask other questions. And you can imagine if there were, 100 questions like this or 200 questions like this in different branches of conditional statements, that's what we call these if-thens, then you can see how classical AI approaches might start to actually simulate how an expert might think about diagnosing, a cough, or providing legal advice, or troubleshooting like an electrical issue. This is classical AI. This is old school. It's actually a little more complicated than that, but I didn't want to get deeper. But this is kind of the idea of classical AI, and classical AI led to expert systems. Now, we're in a different mode of AI right now. Whoops. And that mode is machine learning. And so machine learning is a technique. Again, it's an approach to create AI applications. And machine learning, what it does is rather than requiring the human to figure out all the different rules, we give the computer some base rules, let's call them rules or algorithms, and it will just take a lot of data and then figure out the overall set of rules or patterns on its own. And it takes a lot of data and it takes a lot of computing power. And that's machine learning, and that's why it's gotten so significant over the last 10 to 20 years because of the amount of data available and the amount of computing power available. And so machine learning has led to even other techniques like deep learning. I won't get into that, but just understand that it's a type of machine learning. And those approaches have led to particular applications. So predictive AI, like recommendations, or what we see with generative AI and large language models, systems that can generate text, video, audio, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, generative AI is all the rage right now, and everyone's super interested in it. And a lot of educators are exploring how to use it in their classroom. And so there is a video that I want to stop sharing to allow our Padlet team to show. This video, if I could just preface it, it's a video by Cristobal Valenzuela of Runway, which is an image research team creating image models, and then the Chief Technology Officer of OpenAI, Mir Murati. Both of them are talking about what chatbots are and what large language models are. We're going to show just the first couple minutes of it, but this is a really good video, and I'm going to stick the link to the video in the chat as well. All right?
Hi, I'm Mira Murati. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. I really wanted to work on AI because it has the potential to really improve almost every aspect of life and help us tackle really hard challenges.
Hi, I'm Cristobal Valenzuela, CEO and co-founder of Runway. Runway is a research company that builds AI algorithms for storytelling and video creation.
Chatbots like ChatGPT are based on a new type of AI technology that's called large language models. So instead of a typical neural network, which trains on a specific task, like how to recognize faces or images, a large language model is trained on the largest amount of information possible, such as everything available on the internet.
It uses this training to then be able to generate completely new information, like to write essays or poems, have conversations, or even write code. The possibilities seem endless.
But how does this work, and what are its shortcomings? Let's dive in. While a chatbot built on a large language model may seem magical, it works based on some really simple ideas. In fact, most of the magic of AI is based on very simple math concepts from statistics applied billions of times using fast computers. The AI uses probabilities to predict the text that you want it to produce based on all the previous text that it has been trained on. Suppose that we want to train a large language model to read every play written by William Shakespeare so that it could write new plays in the same style. We'd start with all the texts from Shakespeare's plays, stored letter by letter in a sequence. Next, we'd analyze each letter to see what letter is most likely to come next. After an I, the next most likely letters that show up in Shakespeare plays are S or N. After an S, T, C, or H, and so on. This creates a table of probabilities. With just this, we can try to generate new writing. We pick a random letter to start. Starting with the first letter, we can see what's most likely to come next. We don't always have to pick the most popular choice because that would lead to repetitive cycles. Instead, we pick randomly. Once we have the next letter, we repeat the process to find the next letter and then the next one and so on. Okay, well, that doesn't look at all like Shakespeare. It's not even English, but it's a first step. This simple system might not seem even remotely intelligent, but as we build up from here, you'll be surprised where it goes.
The problem in the last example is that at any point, the AI only considers a single letter to pick what comes next. That's not enough context, and so the output is not helpful. What if we could train it to consider a sequence of letters, like sentences or paragraphs, to give it more context to pick the next one? To do this, we don't use a simple table of probabilities. We use a neural network. A neural network is a computer system that is loosely inspired by the neurons in the brain. It is trained on a body of information, and with enough training, it can learn to take in new information and give simple answers. The answers always include probabilities, because there can be many options.
Now let's take a neural network and train it on all the letter sequences in Shakespeare's plays to learn what letter is likely to come next at any point.
Once we do this...
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen as well and get back to that. So hopefully, we didn't come here to watch a video, and you guys can watch a video on your own, but hopefully that's you haven't seen that video before. You learned a little something about how AI works. There's much more to that. That's where it started getting into neural networks, which are an example of deep learning. So watch that video, watch other videos. It's all available at code.org/AI. I'm going to get into an aspect of this presentation that you won't find online, which is more about policy and guidance. Now, if you're a teacher, more than likely, if you're at this webinar, you're not just a teacher, you're like a teacher leader, meaning you actually have impact beyond your classroom, maybe across your school. Maybe they're looking to you for AI guidance. Or maybe you're already in a position like you're a head of school and you're supposed to provide guidance on AI, but you don't actually know where to start. This whole section is for people like you. So in the US, now I don't have a graphic for the entire world, but in the US, there are only 7 states right now that offer state-level AI guidance. So what's safe, what's not safe, when you should use it, when you should not use it, etc. And so code.org, COSIN, the Consortium for School Networking, Digital Promise, European EdTech Alliance, and the Policy Analysis for California Education, as well as many other members of TeachAI and the TeachAI Steering Committee got together to release this toolkit in October. And since October, actually those 7 states are like as of now, but since the release of the toolkit, almost all of the states that have created new guidance, which was, I think, 4 or 5 states since the toolkit was released, use the toolkit in some way to guide their own state guidance. Now, you can use this at the country level, you can use this at the regional level, you can use this at the district level. But it's a toolkit, not a report. And if you go to the website, you'll see how it's set up. There's even a Google Doc that you can just copy and then do whatever you want with it. It's Creative Commons. And so it's not a PDF on purpose so that you can edit it very easily. And so hopefully that helps you. I'm going to talk about a couple pieces of that toolkit, starting with this idea of like a framework for understanding change per AI in education. So the first step that you should be thinking about is just creating light guidance. So guidance focus on instruction to address immediate risks and reaffirm adherence to existing policies. You don't need to create new policies right now. You can just reaffirm adherence to existing policies like academic integrity policies or current technology policies, and then focus on the pieces that relate to AI, even though they don't say AI because maybe you created it 10, 15 years ago. Still, there are pieces that relate to AI, and people need to understand those policies still matter. Now, during that time, you'll kind of figure out where you might need to create new policies. And so before you do that, you should probably engage in an organizational learning effort. And what I mean by that is before you start worrying about anything with students, the adults need to understand what AI is and how to use it first. And so organizational learning means experimentation. It means prototyping, but it starts with the adults. It starts with the leaders, and it starts with the teachers, and even the teachers figuring out how to use it to improve their own work, but again, before they even worry about having students use AI. And then overall, between stage 1 and stage 2, there's going to be a lot of back and forth, but hopefully they all end up with the idea of improvement and transformation. Now, we all know if you're in technology learning, and I know Zareen probably preached this often, but with digital learning, we don't want to use it to just replicate what we're already doing and doing it faster or cheaper or whatever. We really want to improve and transform education as a whole. And that's going to take some time. It's going to need guidance and policy. It's going to need organizational learning. But that's our overall goal. And that's something that we need to constantly think about. And we're going to learn a lot from research as we move on. We're still very early. And so there are 7 principles that the Teach AI Guidance for Schools toolkit talks about, starting with number 1, purpose, which is the purpose is not to incorporate AI in a system. The purpose is to use AI to help you achieve your existing goals. So that's number 1. And so some states in the US have really followed this principle by taking a look at their portrait of a graduate, which is basically an idea of what it looks like for a student to, you know, what a student looks like when they graduate from the system. And so they're looking at ways that AI can support that vision, that portrait of a graduate. Or there are existing digital learning plans already. And, you know, we don't need a whole different AI plan. And so they create a plan per AI that aligns to their overall digital learning plan. Number 2, that's compliance, what I already talked about. Look at your existing policies, reaffirm adherence to it in your guidance. Number 3, in your guidance, you should promote AI literacy, which I'll talk about a little bit later. In fact, I think I'll talk about right now what promoting AI literacy is all about, right? No, I won't. So promoting AI literacy is how to use AI and how AI works, teaching with AI and teaching about AI. And you should promote that for everyone, students, teachers, staff. 4th, you should always talk about AI from a perspective of benefits and risks. And so with that, I'll talk about the benefits and risks. And these benefits and risks are actually paired up, meaning they're almost like 2 sides of the same coin. You could like flip it and you get a benefit, you could flip it and get a risk. Hopefully, because we're looking at the risks, we're able to mitigate those risks and make sure that AI is helpful for everyone in the system. So number 1, not number 1 benefit, the first benefit here is the idea of being able to create content and differentiate content if you're a teacher. That could be for different reading levels, it could be for different interests. But the opposite side of that is that, you know, as you're creating content, you know that there are errors and there's misinformation that can come out from generative AI tools, and these tools can be used for academic dishonesty. On the benefit side again, there are things like timely, effective feedback, and even the design of assessments or the design of questions. On the flip side, if you know we rely too much on AI grading tools, you know, teacher agency diminishes, and even accountability. Imagine a day when a parent calls to asks a teacher, why did their kid get this grade? And then they ask whether AI was involved and whether AI actually gave the grade. I mean, that might be happening already. And so there need to be policies and guidance in place to guide teachers as to when to use these tools and how. Another benefit is tutoring and personalized learning assistance and helping you, you know, figure out different pathways that are better for you academically or just per your interests. On the other side, you know, anything that involving tutoring or personalized anything involves data, and then there are risks to student privacy because of that. These tools can be used to aid creativity and collaboration, but unfortunately, if you overuse them, you might become over-reliant on them, and actually you don't develop the critical thinking muscles that you would have without them. Lastly, there are operational and administrative efficiencies like scheduling, bus transportation. But in any kind of scenario where something becomes more efficient and automated, you have to worry about bias and how well it works for people of different cultures, right? So these are benefits and risks. These are all, things that you can actually find in the Teach AI toolkit. So I'm going to wrap up with the last 3 principles. And again, these are principles you want to think about as you're creating guidance for your systems. So the 5th principle is advancing academic integrity. And, that might involve restructuring assignments that probably you should have restructured anyway, but now you kind of have to restructure them. It could also involve using AI as an opportunity to talk about academic integrity and what it really means and why we learn what we learn and why we don't want to cheat, even if we can cheat and we won't be caught, why we still don't want to do that. Principle number 6, we should always maintain human decision-making when using AI, especially in situations that involve things like admissions to a school or academic progression and grading. And then lastly, we're still very early in this, folks. We don't know everything, and that's why we have to talk about the benefits and risks, but we also have to regularly assess the impacts of AI across multiple different populations. And so the Teach AI toolkit also provides a presentation that you can copy and edit and use on your own. And so this is available at the website as well. I just want to let you know that because I know that a lot of you out there are doing AI in education presentations. This has statistics from surveys. It covers the principles. It covers a lot of other things as well. I'm going to end off by talking about AI in the classroom with code.org. So, like I told you at the beginning, I'm the Chief Academic Officer of code.org, but I also lead this initiative called Teach AI. Teach AI is more about global level guidance and high level guidance. Whereas what code.org is doing is really focused on what's happening in the classroom with teachers and students, so actual resources. And so you were given a link earlier on, code.org/AI. You'll find a variety of resources there for young kids to create dance parties using AI, or for older kids to watch videos from experts in the field talking about ethics, algorithmic bias, machine learning, and then that video that I showed you earlier on about chatbots and large language models. And what better way to learn about chatbots and large language models than from groups, from the organizations and the companies that are kind of leading the effort worldwide. So that's for teachers. And for district leaders in the US, unfortunately, we have a different set of programs for our international audience, and you can find that at the code.org website. But if you're in the US, you can actually partner with code.org at no cost. And you can do that, and you'll prepare your teachers as well as your students for a variety of future things like AI, like changes to work, and obviously all based on a foundation of computer science. So visit code.org/districts. You can also just take your phone and take a picture of that QR code. Again, you get multiple things, and these are all for free, whether it's curriculum, reports about your district and what's going on, teacher training opportunities, support in implementing a district-wide program, community connections with other districts and other experts in the field. This is all available. Again, it's all for free. You can click that QR code to find out more and apply. So with that, I'm going to actually stop and see what questions we have and start answering some questions.
Thank you so much, Pat. Such great resources. I'll jump off and start up with one question. And then if you have a question, please put it in the chat for Pat while we have him here. It would be great to hear all of your questions. I was wondering, what is the most kind of common question that you get when you're working with districts? And I don't know if it's an objection or a question or a wondering. What do you hear a lot from the districts that you're talking to?
What do I hear a lot? I actually, okay, so I'll answer it in two ways. So first off, I actually don't hear much, meaning they don't, they have lots of other things on their mind, which they should. And they are coming to a presentation that I'm giving because they want to learn more about it, but sometimes they don't even know what questions to ask. If they're, depending on the audience, if it's a teacher audience, I'm often asked about cheating and loss of critical thinking and over-reliance, and impacts on the learning process. For example, these teachers want to figure out how to use AI, but they're worried that if they use AI with their students will be missing out on something. Like something will get too easy and they won't develop the learning skills or the type of skills that kids before AI had. And so they're very cautious about that. And that, when it comes to teachers, and if anyone here works with teachers, you have to provide guidance as to when to use it, when not to use it, and how to monitor it. And then for district leaders, yeah, oftentimes they're just super busy and they're just there just to learn what is AI, what are the concerns, and I guess the one question, Zareen, is what's the first small step I can take? Yeah.
That's exactly the question we just got in the chat, actually.
Oh.
So what are your suggestions in regards to how and where you start in regards to policy creation?
Okay, policy creation. Well, I'm okay. So Teach AI is about releasing all sorts of guidance. And actually, in 1 month, in mid-April, we're going to be releasing a policy resource with a number of organizations, both in the US and internationally. And I'll just tell you what those 5 policies are right now. So this is the first public mention of these resources, all right? So your Padlet webinar participants are very special. So number 1 idea is to create an AI in education task force. So a very specific task force that brings people together from different departments and from different stakeholder groups. So current and practicing teachers, parents, students, brings them together to really come together and create a strategy and a plan. And that plan doesn't have to be like a multi-page plan. It literally could just be principles, a 1-page guidance, an ethics statement, something that says, hey, we are thinking about this, we are figuring this out, we've just started, and here are some initial ideas. So that's an AI in education task force. The second is to fund professional development for all staff and teachers. And that's obvious what that's all about. And I want to be clear, it's not just about teachers, it's about administrators, principals, and even people who work in like the district or the federal offices, the offices. Another policy is to incorporate AI skills and concepts in relevant curriculum. So that could be computer science, that could be social studies, it could be mathematics, etc. Right now, I'm not really advocating for the idea of an AI course, right? I don't think most people are suggesting that there should be like an AI course that kids take. These things should be embedded in other subjects because AI is very interdisciplinary. I'll name one more. And that's the idea of, I'll name 2 more. Supporting research and development, so experimentation with AI, and rather than rolling out a huge program immediately. And then second, providing guidance. So we just talked about guidance. I think that's another first good step, because, oh, Vera's here. So, hey, so folks should know that I talked about 7 states. North Carolina is one of them, and actually Vera is on this call. Take a look at the North Carolina guidance. North Carolina was an example of a state that really looked at everything else that they had going on, a digital learning plan, a profile of a graduate, and then really aligned their guidance to their work. In fact, Vera, if you could put the North Carolina guidance link in the chat, that would be helpful to folks.
Thank
So
you so
yeah,
much.
there you go.
We have one other question that it says, do you find a lot of pushback from parents about AI usage at school? And if so, how have you informed the parents?
Yeah, I've talked to parent groups about AI. They're very concerned. They're concerned about the same thing that teachers are concerned about, actually. So cheating and over-reliance. Some of them have told me how their kids have gotten in trouble for using AI when the school didn't even put out any rules about AI. And that's happening a lot. And you can't really fault a kid when you haven't even said, like when and when not to use AI, because even the idea of cheating changes a little bit with AI. It's not like as cut and dry. And so you really do need to provide that guidance. But yeah, those are the big concerns. And I think that plus social media, so AI plus social media really makes parents worried, because they're worried about the existing impact of social media, and then what AI will do with social media to make it even more addictive for their kids.
Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions right now in the chat. I'm sure people are absorbing all the, oh, I just saw one more. What would be a qualification for teaching AI?
Yeah, your qualification is that you're a teacher right now who's already teaching probably a relevant subject. So whether you're teaching social studies and mathematics or whatever, you probably kind of already know some of the basics, whether it's ethics or if it's, if you're teaching science or psychology, just, how the brain works. So you already know different parts about how AI works. I would lean into that and talk about those aspects per your existing curricula. Now, if you want to teach more about AI, what the qualifications are, I mean, luckily there are a variety of resources available, again, at Code.ai, and again, not just resources from code.org. These are resources from our partners as well, including the International Society for Technology and Education, Khan Academy, etc. And so all these groups have wonderful AI literacy resources and courses that you can take. But in terms of like an actual certification for AI, it'd be actually kind of weird because it'd be so interdisciplinary. I think it'd be quite difficult. We won't see official qualifications for AI for a while. I don't know if we even should. I haven't really thought about that.
Thank you. A couple of other interesting questions. One is about copyright or copying something. Would that still be considered plagiarism if you copy something from AI? And another question about policy and guidelines, if you should use AI to create that.
Yeah. Let's start off with the plagiarism. I mean, if you're copying anything from anything and then saying it's yours, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. That's cheating. And so if it's coming from an AI and you're copying and pasting it and putting it somewhere else, you should probably say it came from an AI. Now, the problem is what if I changed 10% of it or 15% of it? Is it still like, do I need to attribute it at all? Like, and then what if I, because the way you use these tools is you chat with them and you do multiple iterations with them. At what point does it become me? Like, because I put all that work in terms of the prompting, and then I edited it as well. Like, why do I need to then credit this AI? I don't credit calculators when I use it for, mathematical work. So why do I need to use this? So it starts to get difficult at that point. And then in terms of policy and guidelines, so there's a difference. Guidance is like flexible. It's more focused on instruction. It's more practical. And it's supposed to be updated, and it's early. Policy is something that needs to be voted on. usually involves much more deliberation and a more formal process. In most places right now, we're not ready for like technical governance policy, but we are ready for some level of instructional guidance. And in terms of the policies that I shared earlier today, we're ready for policies that help support instruction. So things like an AI and education task force or funding professional development. But any other like high level policies right now, I mean, most federal governments aren't even, don't even necessarily know what to do. So I wouldn't expect a school district to know what to do.
Thank you. A few more questions here. One is talking about there aren't many conversations already about AI preparedness, so some teachers are taking that on. And this participant is curious to learn how Teach AI gets people interested in AI because they feel like they're just starting those conversations on their own. So how do you reach out and get people interested?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just interested in the future and technology in general, and just the idea of like an artificial intelligence doing things for you. They're very curious as to how that will impact society in general. And it will impact, I mean, it's just such an exciting time to be alive when you have this type of technology around. And I'm so glad that by and large, the people that I engage with in the AI and education space, people like Vera in North Carolina and a lot of other people like in Shafiq. Shafiq, I forgot where you're from. I think Brunei, Shafiq, but I'm sorry if I forgot. But people from all over the world, they're very thoughtful about what they're doing in AI and education right now. So yeah, I'm very hopeful that we can probably figure this out, and if something bad does happen, we'll be able to recognize it very quickly and do something about it.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the participants for all those great questions. These resources are amazing. And I think they're such an essential part of as we move forward with using AI in education, being really thoughtful and having the right conversations with the right people to move forward in a really clear and concerted way. So just want to say thanks again to Pat. Thought this was a really insightful discussion on the future of AI in education, to learn about Teach AI resources and code.org resources. I also want to say with code.org, the resources are just so fun. When you mentioned the dance party resource, I just flashed back to using that with students, and they're so engaging and fun, and they really help lay the groundwork for these discussions, not only about computer science and coding in the future, but really about AI as computer science being really the foundation of AI and being able to put those kind of resources and conversations and fun into students' lives so that they can explore these things and we can have these really meaningful conversations. So we're going to transition to the next part where I just share a few of the resources that we have on Padlet. So thanks again to Pat for joining us. It's been really great having you.
Thanks, Zareen. Yeah, thanks for having me, Padlet. You brought a great crowd here. It's great to be with you all. I'm gonna drop now, but I put my LinkedIn in the chat, and super excited as to where things will go. So thank you.
Thanks again. All right, so I'm going to come back and share my screen here to show you a few of the things we have on Padlet now that we've kind of talked a little bit about the background of AI and the importance of kind of these discussions and setting policy. We're going to see what Padlet has to offer. And I know a lot of people on this call know what Padlet is, but just a quick background in case you're not as familiar with Padlet. Padlet is a way to make beautiful boards, to collect, organize, and present anything. So it has a lot of creativity tools, but also tools for choice and collaborations for students to participate on, or for teachers to share resources with students or with other teachers. And it has a lot of teacher efficiency tools too to present information in an organized way. And if you want to know more about getting started with Padlet, we have a great webinar recording on Padlet for beginners. So that's in this slide deck. I'll share that again in a moment. But you can always go back and watch that because we're not going to dive into all the features now because I want to show you some of our really fun AI features. So the first one I wanted to share with you is Padlet has a really fun AI drawing tool. And with this tool, you can create your very own images with AI, and that can be a really fun way to have community builders and icebreakers make really fun and funny images to engage students. It can also be a way to really engage students in more oral language development or writing prompts to get deeper descriptions out of them, or to share information on a particular topic. Like if you're studying the rainforests or you're studying climate change or whatever you're studying, you can generate images to kind of elicit responses from students and elicit deep conversation, and also kind of get them engaged with kind of fun and sometimes wacky images. Students can even make their own visuals for presentations or personalized graphics for your class or school. And so I want to jump into this. I'm going to put a link in the chat here for us to try it a little bit. Also, I just want to highlight that code.org has a really cool lesson about generative images to teach kids about what they even are. And so that would be a really nice pairing with our tool to talk about what it is and how it works, and then also have kids try it out and experiment with it. So I'm going to put a link in the chat right now for us to try it. So if you come to this link, you can make your own very own AI generated image. And to let you know too, as you're generating these images, they're yours to keep. They're royalty free, so you can create images, download them, use them for any purposes. So this is a fun board that we've been using with different teachers and different Padlet users. And so the prompt here for you all is to make an image with your favorite animal, maybe eating your favorite food or in a favorite location. I love this person with the Mickey Mouse truck also prompted 4Cs, cartoon character, color, car, cuisine. So if that speaks to you, feel free to do that. In order to do this, I'm going to click on the plus in the lower right. And then this is an important step. I'm going to click on this type of attachment. We call it I can't draw. This is the AI generated image. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to prompt my AI. Let's see, I didn't think about what I'm going to do today. Let's see, how about sea lions drinking tea on the beach? So you can prompt it with anything here, and it's going to take, probably 15 to 30 seconds and come up with 4 options for you. And we'll see what it comes up with, and then you can choose one you like. If you didn't like what it came up with, you can prompt it again and see what else you can get. Oh, so I like this one. This one looks great. So I can put that in here. I can also put the prompt in here. Sea lions drinking tea on the beach. And then I can hit publish, and it's going to show up on our page here. So I encourage you to give this a try. This is something that you can use with students. As I said, you can make fun images like this about things they like, or you can use it kind of really directly related to content. So I'll let you all play with that a little bit, and I'm going to show us a few other things as we get forward. And again, in this slide deck, you'll see a link to code.org's lesson here. And I also made this Padlet that's related to the generative AI lesson in code.org that has their video and a fun kind of interactive activity here. So Padlet can be a great place to discuss these things. So you can have students, for example, make a drawing, make an AI drawing, reflect on both of those things and add their text, add their comments to it. So you can integrate kind of the learning about AI, experimenting with AI, and then discussing and reflecting on all within Padlet. All right, so that's AI images, which are really fun. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about another tool we have called Magic Padlet. So Magic Padlet actually lets you create a whole Padlet with ChatGPT. So the way it works is Padlet pings ChatGPT 4, which is the most current ChatGPT, and we also do a web search to find additional information. So it brings back a little more than just the text from ChatGPT. It can also bring back text, images, links, videos, and you can use it to make Padlets on any topic. And so you can make it a lesson plan, you could make classroom activities, reading lists, you could even make maps and a timeline of historical events. So I'll show you what some of that looks like in just a minute. Just to give you a little more background on how it works, it's within Padlet, it's enabled for teacher accounts. And also it's really nice because it's a private way to use ChatGPT. So Padlet pings ChatGPT and doesn't share any user information of yours. And ChatGPT also does not train on your prompt. So it's a little bit different than going directly to ChatGPT. It also brings back the information in a really visual, organized format within a Padlet that you can edit. So within that familiar form that you've seen if you've used Padlet, you can drag things around, change the format, and it's a thing that you can also share immediately with students. It does, of course, have some limitations. AI is constantly evolving, but right now it doesn't have knowledge of events after April 2023. It can, in rare cases, provide incorrect info. It should, of course, always be checked for accuracy. It brings back a maximum number of Padlet posts of 20, but you can make more Padlets if you want. And again, it doesn't share any information of yours, and that's very intentional. So it doesn't have any knowledge of your account, other Padlets you've created, so you have to prompt it as specifically as you can to get back what you want. And we have some more information linked here about Magic Padlet. But first, I'm just going to model it for you a little bit, and I'm going to come to padlet.com and show you where it is. So up here, when I click on Make a Padlet, this big box is where I click on just making a blank Padlet. But if I want to make an AI generated Padlet, I can choose one of these options, and there's all these different formats. So first, I'm just going to try kind of a general board, custom board, and I'm gonna, since we're talking about AI and the implications of AI, I thought we'd prompt it with a list of the top 5 implications of generative AI. So I'm just gonna hit create. It's going to take maybe about 30 seconds to a minute to generate. What it's doing right now, again, is prompting ChatGPT, here it comes, and doing a web search. So here we are. So here are my top 5 implications of generative AI. And I'm going to come to my sharing permissions here and just make sure that you all can see it. And I'm going to put this in the chat so you can see what it just generated. So really quickly, it can bring back some information for us and save us time. I can then, of course, edit it like I was saying. Maybe I want to move this around. Maybe I want to change the color of some of these. Maybe I want to turn on comments. So if I want to turn on comments, I can come into my settings, turn on comments. So that maybe I want to generate something and then have students interact with it. Maybe I don't like one of these and I want to delete it. So maybe I want to come over here and delete one of these posts. So it's very flexible and it quickly brings back some interesting information. I'm going to show you a couple of other examples as well. Actually, let me do one more about AI. So I'm going to come back to padlet.com. And this time when I go to make a Padlet, I'm going to go to classroom activities. My favorites are classroom activities and reading lists because I think those bring back really useful information. When I was a classroom teacher, I know I spent a lot of time. I would have a lesson and a standard and a plan, but having that really engaging activity for students was sometimes a challenge to make it kind of fresh and related to something they're interested in. So let's do one more about artificial intelligence. And you can choose up here the grade level. So I said kind of high school, maybe ages 14 and up into college and higher ed. And I'm going to prompt it with writing prompt activities to discuss AI dilemmas. So all of what we were talking about with Pat today, what if we had students talk about that and explore kind of what are the ways to use AI? What are some of the dilemmas that we have? So I'm going to hit create. Same thing, I have to wait maybe about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Oh, this came back quickly. And here it came up with a bunch of AI dilemmas for us. And I'm going to share this one in the chat too. Sorry, I just have to adjust this setting again. This is where I can adjust the privacy of my Padlet. So you can do that with your Padlets as well. You can choose if you want it to be shared more widely or if you want it to be more private. So you can take a look at what AI just generated for us here. So I might not like all of these prompts, but this might be an interesting starting point for me as I discuss things with students. And, you know, I did 2 prompts about AI, but that's not, you can prompt it about anything. And I'll show you some of that as well. So here are some more examples. And I'll put this one in the chat too. Some more Magic Padlet examples that I generated ahead of time. So you can make reading lists, you can make classroom activities. So here's one, for example, that I did, and I put the prompt in all of these at the top of the Padlet so you can see how I generated it. And it's really important to be as specific as you can. So here's, I've put the grade level, the reading level. You can adjust that a lot. So if this was too complex for my students, I could set the reading level as more basic, or I could even move the grade level down and it will respond with the appropriate level. So here I have 5 poems about current diverse authors, and I also asked for 5 popular music or rap lyrics. So this is something that would have taken me a long time to find and generate myself, and AI can really save me a lot of time. This is another one in a different format. This is a timeline that I asked it to generate. So again, the AI prompt is here in yellow, and I asked for 10 key events, and I told it what to include as well, mummies, pyramids, etc. And then you can see it created all of this information for me very quickly that I can share with students, or I can even have it as a starting point for them to do their research, maybe find more information, choose one of these topics and research even more about it, or validate the accuracy of some of this information. That could be an interesting activity for students as well. And I'll show you maybe one or two more. This is an assessment poll that was generated. So I asked for, this was at 8th grade, so about 14-year-olds, pre-algebra, and I asked it to generate some test questions for me. Very quickly, it came up with some multiple choice practice questions. And then I can, of course, edit them. I'll do this one as well. This was a custom board. I gave it a specific book title. So I said, for the book Wonder by R.J. Palacios, give me vocabulary words and comprehension questions for the first 3 chapters. So very specific. This is a book that we're reading in class. Instead of me having to pull out all the vocabulary words and comprehension questions, I asked ChatGPT to do it through Magic Padlet, and it came up with some really great things that I can then customize. So there's a lot more that it can do, but we just wanted to give you a little taste of some of these examples to see what's possible. And, as we're discussing these really important policy considerations that Pat took us through, and really great background on computer science through the code.org lessons, this is another way that you as teachers can interact with AI and also share really great information with students for them to participate with on a Padlet. All right, so I'm going to end with a couple of FAQs about Padlet, the questions that we always get, and then we'll see if there's any last questions in the chat before we wrap up. So the first question is, can you use Padlet for free? Yes, you can use it right now. You can go to padlet.com, sign up for a free account. You get access to all the features, the AI-generated images, Magic Padlet, AI-generated Padlets. And the only limitation is you can only do 3 for free. If you would like to get more, you can look at our subscriptions. So we have a variety of different subscription plans. And let me just put that in the chat as well. So you can get it for your school site. So we encourage you to take a look at these options. You can get an individual account, and then you can also get a school-wide account. Sorry, for some reason that's taking a second to load. I'll come back to that in a minute. But you can find information on that Padlet right there. And then if you want to learn more about Padlet and watch any videos, we have our YouTube channel. We also record all of our webinars. So today's will be recorded and posted on this page. And then also past webinars are also posted here. We did a couple of great other webinars about AI in the past 2 weeks. We partnered with AI, EDU, and Common Sense Education. So I encourage you to check those out if you're interested in. We're also always available to answer your questions at hello@padlet.com. So feel free to write in with any question that you have. And then this is just a summary of the webinars that we have coming up. We have, this is the recordings that I mentioned up top here. So you can check those out. And then we have a Padlet for beginners and also Welcome to Padlet for Schools coming up later this month. We're going to pretty soon post some new sessions for April. We're trying to do kind of new topics every month. And for April, we're going to do some sessions about Padlet and creativity. There's a lot of great creativity tools in Padlet. So when you're making a post, it can be an image. It can also be a video recording, audio recording, screencast. And there's a lot of really exciting ways that some of our users are making Padlets and engaging students with that information. All right, so as we kind of wrap up here, we'll see if there's any questions, but for those who are still here, we would love to get your feedback. Your feedback is really, really important to us, and we can make sure that you're getting the topics that you want, and you can just give us your feedback on how these webinars are and how to make them better for you. So please fill out that feedback right now if you can. And then Tosh, I'll just want to jump to you to see if you saw any questions that we could answer in the chat.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing all of that, Zareen. It seems like everyone's excited about using Padlet and AI together. Saw definitely, as always, a lot of questions about where to access information, where to access the link. Everyone, please go to padlet.link/webinars. Zareen showed that as well. At that page, you'll find all of our past AI sessions. You'll find upcoming sessions. I'm really excited about the Getting Started with Padlet for Schools for Teachers. And I'm seeing a few questions about, like, subscribe to the individual account. Is there a school-wide account discounted for educators? So that is actually what Padlet for Schools is. And with Padlet for Schools, you get unlimited Padlet creation, which of course is the best feature that we can offer. Plus a lot of kind of school-specific features. For example, like content moderation for all student accounts. the ability to see into every student account's profile and all the Padlets that they've created, the ability to work really closely with teachers and share Padlets within the same dashboard. So it's really easy for everyone within your group to access the same set of Padlets. And if you're interested in that, just send us an email to memberships@padlet.com. CC, whoever the person at your school or district who would be the decision maker on purchasing, and we'll be able to kind of provide some resources and talk to you about if it would make sense for your group to go over to Padlet for School subscription. Definitely a lot of questions about kind of just the safetiness of AI and the kind of using it in the classroom with students. And from what I've seen, Magic Padlet is and Create with AI Padlet is a great way to kind of safely use Padlet and AI together, because we have content moderation that will catch any posts that aren't in line with our content policy. Teachers will have full vision into kind of what students are doing. And actually the Create with AI option isn't even enabled for students at the moment unless you request it. So a really safe place to use AI and kind of teach your students how to use it in a positive manner. Cool, yeah. Gisela just mentioned I own an English academy. I want to offer my students better learning experiences. So yeah, definitely reach out about Padlet for Schools, and we'll be able to help you out and get your whole group set up with Padlet with that education rate. So yeah, someone's missed the most of the presentation. Is it possible to get a copy of this to my email? So we'll actually send a follow-up email. It'll be coming from Padlet folks. You'll see that come in, and that will have a link to the recordings. It'll have links to the other resources that we offer. And where can I find a transcript from this presentation? Is there a link? That is a good.
I think the best way for that is we'll be posting it on YouTube, and then YouTube can kind of caption and transcribe it, and so that'll be probably the easiest place for you to get a transcription of it.
Awesome. Yeah. So that'll be found through padlet.link/webinars, and the YouTube clip will be posted right there, and you can access it from YouTube. So yep, seeing lots of great comments and feedback. So thank you everyone for joining in today. And yeah, we're okay. Last question. I did see this earlier about whether Padlet has an administrative LMS. So with Padlet, we can integrate to, I think we integrate with about 13 LMSs, and we'll do that with an LTI connector. And what that does basically is allow you to access Padlet directly through your LMS. So it's really easy to set up. We actually used to kind of upcharge for this, but now it's just included with any Padlet for School subscription. So with more specific questions about integration into your LMS through an LTI connector, we actually have a specific team that works on this, and just email into us at hello@padlet.com for the LMS setup, and we'll be able to help out there. So cool. And I see, yep, Magic Padlet is powered by ChatGPT plus a few other things that we use to make it a little bit more accurate. So thanks for posting that in the chat, Zareen. See one last question in the Q&A up. Just thanks a lot. So yep, thanks everyone for joining in. Zareen, do you have anything else you want to add in today?
Yeah, I think that was it. Thank you so much. It was so exciting to have such an international audience again today and be able to connect with you all. We love getting your feedback, so thanks to those that already filled that out. And we'll see you next time at the next webinar. Take care, everyone.